Hello and welcome to the World Economic Forum in Davos. I'm Stephen Carroll. My guest today founded one of the most consulted websites on the internet, Wikipedia. He's in Davos to talk about education, innovation and disruption. Jimmy Wales, thank you very much for speaking to us on France 24. Wikipedia is 16 years old this year. It has changed, I would say, for a lot of us, how we find information on the internet.
For sure, yeah.
But it has been criticised frequently and over the years for how much false information pops up in sites there. What have you learned from the experience of dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, well, for us, one of the most important things one of the most important principles for improving the quality of Wikipedia has been a really strong insistence by the community on reliable sources. So you can't just post any random thing, and obviously we make mistakes, everybody does, but in general, if somebody posts something without a source, it gets challenged. And if it's not a quality source, it gets challenged. So the recent phenomenon of fake news spreading very, very quickly through social media has had almost no impact on Wikipedia. And the reason is our volunteers, who are very experienced now at writing an encyclopedia, they're very media savvy. And so if they see, a headline that says, Pope endorses Trump, they look at the source and they're like, that's not a real newspaper. We've never heard of it before. And they quickly do some checks and they're like, well, no, that's a hoax. Whereas someone who's not so media savvy and who maybe hopes that's true or fears that's true, they get excited and it takes a second to share it with their friends. A certain percentage of whom are also not media savvy, and it just spreads like that. And with not much feedback mechanism. So,
are there lessons then that can be learned from the Wikipedia experience for other social networks, for Facebook, for example, which we know is where so much of fake news is being shared?
I mean, I think one of the concerns that people have, and why we're all a little bit uneasy of saying, gee, Facebook, why don't you stop this, is because, wow, do we really want Facebook to go down a path of deciding what counts as good or bad news? Will that end up being something that reflects Facebook's corporate or Mark Zuckerberg's personal preferences and biases? And so what I would say is what's great about the Wikipedia is that our process is very open, very transparent. It's driven by the community, a dialogue, a debate. So if Facebook can somehow say, actually, we're not going to decide, but we are going to have a place on Facebook where we have a community of trusted people who openly discuss, and if they spot something that looks fake and they agree, sort of a diverse group of people says, yeah, this is fake, then we'll, whatever they do, whether they would block it, probably not, but maybe we'll make sure that we follow up. Anybody who saw it gets another message saying, oh, by the way, the Facebook community volunteer team has said this is probably fake. That's what I would do if I were in that position.
And is that conversation, do you find, being had in technology circles? Are people talking about fake news and how it can be dealt with?
Yeah, sure. I would say in technology circles, but also, of course, it touches very strongly on conversations that people are having about journalism generally and the business models of journalism. Particularly as we find out one of the reasons this is happening is that there's teenagers in Macedonia who have figured out they can just write some exciting headlines and spread stuff very quickly and make some clicks. And we all know, of course, most online news organizations have struggled with how do you deal with the rise of clickbait headlines. There's your stodgy old newspapers of good quality don't want to use clickbait, misleading headlines. Newer outlets maybe, and it's a difficult balance to strike because you want a headline that's appealing to people,
and so on. The advertising that comes with,
and exactly, and then and with all the pressures, the advertising pressures on news organizations, wow.
It's a conversation being had.
And if the traffic of quality sites is being taken away because people are sharing nonsense, that's a problem for society, I would say. And so it's all part of that bigger conversation about how do we make sure that quality journalism is supported and funded in a rapidly changing marketplace.
And you mentioned their funding. Wikipedia is not for profit. It's funded by donations. Right. We all see them when we use the website. The calls for donations, is that raising enough money to keep the site going?
Yeah, it is. I mean, we always have to take it very seriously, and we're not a super wealthy organization, but the public does support us, and it's really helpful. We actually had quite a good fundraising season in the fall. Not really sure why, but it really exceeded expectations. I personally think it has something to do with all the talk about fake news, a lot of concern about the quality of information and Donald Trump and all that, that people say, no, actually, at least Wikipedia doesn't have fake news. At least this is something we can trust.
So
even though,
the rise in donations
as you say, yeah, I think so. Yeah, even though, of course, traditionally it was always a little bit of a joke, like, ooh, Wikipedia, it's got errors in it, and so on. And it's quite a, sort of an interesting turn to say, well, hold on, actually, at least with Wikipedia, we know it's not sort of made up out of thin air and for political purposes. That it's a community that tries really, really hard to get it right, and that. It's something people feel like they should support. So,
with Donald Trump in the White House, do you feel things could change for websites like yours? Are you worried about internet freedom and those sort of issues under Donald Trump?
Yeah, to some extent, but I also have great confidence in the U.S. Checks and balances and the infrastructure. I mean, the First Amendment is very strong, so Trump may talk a good game about this or that, but. And then on other levels, you do have concern because he has a sort of a bullying attitude oftentimes. So what does that mean for news organizations? That I worry about. But you can't really bully Wikipedia. I mean, the community doesn't care what Donald Trump thinks, so we'll just carry on. I do think what is interesting is, we have a global presence, and we are, very strongly in favor of freedom of expression, the right to share information worldwide. And so U.S. foreign policy may have some kinds of indirect impacts on us, maybe not directly, but certainly it becomes, if the U.S. is completely at war with China in a war, I don't mean actual literal war, but a war of rhetoric, a war of trade, sanctions, and that sort of thing. When I go to the Chinese to say, look, let's have another talk about unblocking Wikipedia, we're currently completely blocked there, they may just view us as, oh, it's this American thing, and like not willing to listen.
Have you seen those effects before with Russia, for example?
Trump's only been in office a very short period of time now.
But with the sanctions that we've had on Russia from the EU, for example?
Nothing that I can say is directly connected. We have had some threats of blocking and some issues in Russia. Fortunately, Wikipedia is very popular in Russia, and there was one day when they blocked us for about 6 hours and everybody went crazy, and so they stopped doing that. But who knows? I mean, maybe the grand new friendship we have with Russia will mean that Russia is less likely to block Wikipedia. I have no idea, but it's something I wonder about. I think about, okay, well, how does this impact? Because Wikipedia is a humanitarian project. It's a charity. We're volunteers. We're just trying to share knowledge and help everyone in the world get educated. And so you don't want to be a pawn in people's battles over information. So.
We've seen a lot of very high-profile hacking of companies and websites in recent years. Is that a problem that Wikipedia is dealing with as well?
Not really. I mean, we try to follow best practices on security and all of that. One of the great things for us is that we don't actually have anybody's private information, really. So if you hack into someone's email account, you get all their private email. You can't. There's no way on the website to even send a private message. Everything is public. Everything is open. So there's no need to hack Wikipedia. But of course, every company
in terms of changes on, have you seen evidence of what you think might be state-sponsored actors changing pages systematically on Wikipedia? Does that sort of thing happen?
Not really. No, it would be very hard to do. I mean, we always do wonder about it, and we think about it, and we look into things, but it would be very hard to do because there is a community, and it's a genuine community. It's people who know each other. It's a bunch of tech geeks and people who have been working together for a long time. So somebody shows up, a state sponsors somebody, and starts making changes that are aggressively out of line with our policies. They're just going to get blocked very quickly. And so, and if some people aren't revealing their affiliation when they're editing Wikipedia, well, then, of course, we know that goes on to some extent. We frown on it, but somebody comes in and they forget to mention that they work at a certain company, and they edit this, that, and the other, and then they edit that company's article when they probably shouldn't be. Okay, well, but if they start doing it in a really way that violates the policies, people say, hold on, why are you turning this company article into a PR piece? Like, it's silly, If you want to engage about some flaws in the article or whatever, that's fine, but be open about who you are. So we don't worry too much about that, but we do keep an eye on it.
When you look at 2017, all the uncertainty that's coming between, we've got Brexit in the UK, Donald Trump in the White House, all these things that are changing, where do you see Wikipedia and the Wikimedia Foundation going next? What's your next project?
Yeah, well, so, I mean, we're still very focused on the fundamental vision of the only thing we've ever really been focused on, which is a free encyclopedia for every single person on the planet in their own language. And that remains the focus of our work. And I think that vision, I mean, just the nature of the spirit of that, it's very open, it's very cross-cultural. It's basically treating us all as humans on this planet. And in this era where a lot of the rhetoric and a lot of the feel is quite counter to that, it's sort of demonizing people from other countries or other religions and so on. So I hope that we will remain that voice that says, no, actually, come on, everybody. We're here on this beautiful little rock, and we need to think of each other as human beings first. And of course, we'll have disagreements, but demonizing people is just not acceptable.
And information can be the key to
and the information, education, and for people who, if you're interested in politics and you're active in politics, it's really important, I think, that you should not just read things that you agree with or become just a partisan warrior. You actually should just try to get educated on the wide range of issues. Then choose your side, that's fine, right? But choosing your side before you even understand is tribalism, and well, it doesn't work. I mean, facts are facts, whether you know them or not. So.
Okay. Jimmy Wales, thank you very much for speaking to us on France 24. Thank you for watching. We've got more news coming up. Do stay with us.